How's it going, everyone? We are the Geeks on Screen, and thank you tonight for joining us. I am your host, Everett Harn, and joining me tonight, I've got the man that hasn't been here in about 2 years. He thinks he's been gone so long that he grew facial hair, but he didn't. Stephen Heron. How's it going, Stephen?
Oh, it's fantastic. The school year's ended, and I won't be working at the elementary school next year, so I am just happy as I can be, and that means I get to do a lot more stuff with the site and the YouTube and everything else that I enjoy.
So you're not going to be working at the school, like, or you just want to, vent your frustrations about all the little kids and stuff. Burn those bridges, Stephen.
The children are angels.
Most of them are fantastic. There's only a handful that are the exception. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. You just go and smile. It's great.
Thanks, Stephen. Also joining me tonight, we've got John Connor. Oh, Jonathan Reyes. You wanted me to call you John Connor now. I did. I'll just go full out.
I'm back.
Jonathan Reyes, I'm here to rescue you. How's it going, John?
I'm doing well. I just noticed I'm drinking water on the thing there, so my thirst will be quenched all night, so that's good.
Well, I think everything still kind of works. Like on the video, I'm frozen because I live in Sweden. Stephen kind of lives a little in kind of the more western Tornado Alley region, so he's got a tornado. John lives on, New England. He's going to be drowned in a few years anyways. So there's the tidal wave disaster. And Brad Bell. How's it going, Brad?
I'm doing well. I survived the Bell household pink eye disaster myself. The dog had it. I had it. The wife had it. But I'm fine. Everything, you got to be careful with that pink eye. It spreads rather quickly. And no, before Everett asked, no one farted on my pillow.
No.
The pink eye apocalypse. Gotta watch out for that.
And Steven works at a school. Stuff spreads like wildfire. You get
Steven
sick.
Gets pink eye like every other week, though.
You get sick relatively quick.
I wasn't
Maybe
sick
not
at all
pink
this
eye.
year.
Really?
I actually find out who's sick, and I dab their eye, put the dab in a water bottle, and go spray the kids I don't want at school.
They're like cats.
It cleans out a classroom really fast. Let me just tell you.
Well, as I've taught a couple years, I've kept stock up in Purell, so I get less sick. But that first couple years was pretty rough. But no, I'm glad.
Out.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be talking disaster movies. This is a topic I've been looking forward to for quite a while.
And if everyone watching the video, I'll just be laughing randomly because every time Brad talks, I look at the tractor beam coming out of the mothership that's destroying the middle of his forehead.
Yes, this giant egghead anyway, so.
Because all of our boxes are themed with disaster movies. And last but not least, Agaskles Stamus. I know you don't have volcanoes where you live, but I figured you've got a Greek name, and there's some volcanoes there.
Boom!
There you go. How's it going, Agaskles?
Good.
All right, so if you haven't already figured it out, maybe because you aren't watching the video, if you're just listening, tonight's topic is disaster movies and TV shows. And we're kind of doing it because San Andreas is coming out. And none of us, I don't think any of us live in California, so we don't have to worry about San Andreas. So
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I mean, Casey will, and some of our bosses are going to be floating off into the Pacific, but
I'm curious.
But that means we get to take over.
How many of us here actually? Is that movie actually coming to your theater? Because it's not coming to mine here. Somebody else mentioned it's not in there.
Really? San Andreas is next weekend. It's not this weekend.
Oh,
it comes
okay.
out the weekend after Tomorrowland.
Okay.
Right.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
we're doing this preemptively.
Week ahead. Gotcha.
Yeah, we do these preemptively. Like Spy should have just came out today, and we did the Spy cast last week. So yeah. So I think San Andreas comes out next week with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Now,
So.
is the guy who plays Roy from Arrow in that also? I thought he was, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think he may be in San Andreas.
Yes.
And for everyone that doesn't know what San Andreas is, it's about the San Andreas fault. It's basically about California sinking into the sea. It's not
It's not a Grand Theft Auto movie.
Everybody was
Yeah.
like,
Hoping for that.
Yeah.
It's not.
everybody's like, yes, my childhood brought to life hookers and drugs galore. But no, it's The Rock fighting
That's
a
reality
earthquake.
TV though, so I mean,
Yeah.
The Rock, earthquake.
Not to be confused with Superman, the motion picture.
Right. Well, just, San Andreas has a scene of the Golden Gate Bridge being destroyed, so it's a disaster movie if that.
Quintessential disaster movie scenery.
Yeah, well, let's not get into disaster movies just yet because we got to talk about what we watched this week before we
good.
just destroy everything. And I know, Gascles, you've been watching something called Constantine that all of us, I think, have quit watching and are
Yes,
interested in what you have
unfortunately.
to say.
Yeah. So when you guys say, just let me ask real quick, when you guys say quit watching, where, because of course there were no more episodes aired after mid-February, because NBC didn't pick up the second half of the season package. So did some of you guys?
I watched about 5 episodes.
I watched up until, and it recently finished, and we'll probably try and keep watching whatever's left that I can find. I watched the episode where they're actually in Kentucky, and the guy's a healer, and he has the angel's feather, and is using the angel's feather to heal everybody. I watched that episode. That was the last one I saw. I love the show. I'll keep watching anything if I can find, but it's just sad it's gone. Or not picked up, or-
I have 13 episodes, which I guess is what it ran, right? Just saved up on my DVR, and I plan on getting to it this summer. So I'm interested in hearing, should I watch it?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that it's leaving off with the exact same number of episodes that there were for Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm a fan of the show. And let me first caveat that by saying, I don't want to say that I don't believe in quality movies and TV shows, but I mean, I have a pretty low threshold to get me to watch something. There are very few things that I feel like are so painful that I just don't want to bother watching them.
Gotham.
So I think it's pretty good. Actually, I really don't understand, and I haven't been able to tell if the cancellation was driven. It seemed like when I wasn't watching it, it seemed like I heard or saw a volume. Well, I definitely saw a volume of people who disliked it. And from what I saw, that was I hate to pin this tale on you, but if the label fits, a lot of people who decried it because, they didn't feel like he was the Constantine that had been rendered in their favorite comics. I saw a lot of people bent out of shape because he had a 3/4 length trench coat instead of a full length trench coat.
Oh,
and I was like, yeah, I have other things to be wrapped around the axle about than that.
Exactly.
Right.
So I thought the and I'm not deeply familiar with the character Constantine. I did like the Keanu Reeves movie Constantine. This show, Matt Ryan portrays a vastly different character than Keanu did. And from the comics that I've read of Constantine, I think the television rendering is definitely more accurate, if you want to call it that. But I like the show. It's good effects. I definitely like the subject matter. Every once in a while I'm watching an episode and I get a nostalgic twinge of deja vu because it feels, somebody says a line or there's a specific scene that's shot and I get a serious hearkening of Angel.
Angel. I was figured you were going to say that.
Yeah,
because I get that too.
Right. And of course because I also mention Angel probably every other episode.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, I think the show's good. You know, Everett, you mentioned that Lucy Griffiths, who was originally cast in what I guess was the pilot as Liv, and was then sequentially written out of the show,
Yeah.
and a new supporting actress was brought in. I am not a huge fan of her.
Right.
I kind of like
Of which
the
one?
I
The
can't
original
remember
girl or the new
the
girl?
second girl. So the character's name
Okay.
is Zed.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the
Zed.
actress's name is.
Lord Zed.
The you know when there's there about twice an episode there's a little like sexual tension between them or some flirtation, and that is actually when they're the best on screen together. But of course, you know, most action fans don't want to see a full 45 minutes of that every week, so it's
Right.
good that they use it sparingly. The only problem I have is that that's the only time that I find her character interesting, and it's because it's in those times, and those scenes or one liners are only like about 20 seconds of dialogue. Um, those are the times that I hate to term it this way, but that she's on top of Constantine. But those are the times. Those are the times when like the whole, you know, senior subordinate, you know, teacher student relationship kind of switches, and she becomes kind of the stronger character. Um, but the rest of the time that she's on screen, I just find her very um, uninteresting.
Yeah.
Weak.
That's one of the reasons that I quit at episode 5, because I mentioned that I really enjoyed Liv, and I think where they were going with her character was extremely interesting, and I feel like the rewrites they had to make to get Zed into the show kind of brought the show's quality down just a notch. Like it, you know, I think it's a good show. I love Matt Ryan as Constantine. From all I haven't read much Hellblazer, but I've read the Injustice comics, which I know Steven has also read, and he pulls the character off, and from what I know is John Constantine.
Yeah, he really fits the new 52 Constantine. I read most of those also.
Talk about
And
Justice League. You talk about Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, he had his own run,
Yeah,
just
he had his
Constantine.
own
Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
Constantine series too.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've read those, and I never would have read that unless I had watched the show. The show made me want to go back and read, and then once I realized that year 3 of Injustice was going to have a lot of Constantine in it, I got really excited because Matt Ryan brought a character that I didn't know anything about on to my radar and really made me enjoy that character a lot. So I think it's awesome. I saw on Twitter that Stephen Amell was putting it out there saying that, you know, somebody pick this up, pick up Constantine, Netflix, someone else, whoever, and if you do, I'll guest star in it. And so, like, he wants it to happen. And
Shatner said that as well. William Shatner.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool. See, and those two guys have such a fan base, and everybody that's so supportive of them that, you know, I can see something happening, you know, not right away, but, you know, without it being too long down the road. And I think it'd be great. I really think that DC needs to take all their TV series and they need to do more crossovers.
Well, there was talks. I remember back when Constantine first started that there was talks of them doing a Justice League Dark, like TV universe, kind of like CW's doing with their kind of pseudo Justice League. Like they were going to bring in some more of the Justice League Dark characters into some of the shows, or even just in the Constantine, and basically just do Justice League Dark in that show. But it, you know, I guess it just didn't take off.
I think the reason it didn't take off because Steven and I, one of our favorite directors, Guillermo del Toro, I got the name right.
Got it.
All right. I was actually developing a Justice League Dark movie for Warner Brothers for the longest time, and I think that's kind of in development hell. Maybe would be a good play on words here. So maybe that had something to do with not pushing it on TV because for whatever reason, and this kind of makes no sense to me, DC with Suicide Squad, for example, once they started really wanting to push and market that movie, they said that Arrow could no longer use the name Suicide Squad or Task Force X on Arrow. That makes no sense to me because you're having a Flash movie, but we have a Flash series. I guess they just want only one version of the characters out there.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to something that, Casey brought up on one of our earlier podcasts. They used to have a rule that if a Batman or a Superman movie or character was being developed for the big screen, you would not see a Batman or a Superman character in a TV series.
They should still have that rule.
Smallville, we didn't have Batman because at the time we had Batman movies being made. And at the very end, we had a little nod to Batman. But that's all we had. We never saw that as a real character. And so that is some written or unwritten or unspoken rule that they have or had that they kind of seem to go by. And again, I'm with you, Brad. I don't understand. They've done so well with some of these characters, making them so iconic and accepted by people. Grant and Steven everybody knows who they are, knows what characters they play, and are excited to tune in and see their newest episodes of stuff and always are talking about them. They've got these actors that everybody really enjoy and a show that everyone enjoys. So I don't understand why they don't run with that and go and instead they're, going a different route with different people and making totally different movies. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well,
It's just kind of inconsistent because you're allowing the Flash to have two versions, but you're not allowing Suicide Squad. And DC's the multiverse company, right? I mean, they were the ones that first pushed that. Not saying they need to do that in their films per se. As a comic, that would be cool. I would love it, but I don't know.
I'd love it if they did Jay Garrick or Wally West or something in the film, and then they brought Barry Allen and Oliver from a different universe into him eventually. I think that would be so cool, but whatever. Yeah. So it's almost 20 minutes in.
Sorry guys, sorry.
Only Gascles has gone through one of his shows. What's your other shows?
I'll put a cap on the Constantine discussion and then I'll just mention the other stuff that I've been watching. So just the only thing I could think of with Constantine as far as why it is not popular is, my guess is, the whole. It deals with the supernatural, and supernatural's fun on TV, right? People get into it. I mean, the show Supernatural is incredibly, hugely popular, and not just with the nerd elite, right? But Constantine puts the religious stuff, a little more right on the nose and in your face. I mean, it's directly angels and demons kind of stuff, and I think people aren't as comfortable dealing with that every week. So I think that's part of it. And then the other part is. Matt Ryan, he plays Constantine so well, and a problem with that character is he's not a very likable character.
No, and he shouldn't be.
Right, and he's not even, we have our characters who are scoundrels, right? Our Han Solos, our Malcolm Reynolds. I mean, even like Jane on Firefly is a little bit likable, but Constantine's, primary theme is he's the guy who does the crappy stuff that nobody else is willing to do, right?
Right.
I won't give a lot of stuff away, but there's an episode where he sacrifices a friend, and he comes to that decision on his own. Mm-hmm. And an angel asks, and there's a character in the show who's an angel, great guy, one of my favorite actors.
Lost.
Yeah, yeah. And Romeo and Juliet actually is where I first encountered him. But at any rate, he's pretty much a right bastard himself on this show. And in this episode, the roles kind of flip because the angel actually asks Constantine. First of all, he doesn't think that he's going to go through with it, and he stops him and asks him, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And Constantine is the guy who just says, it's what has to be done. And you see a lot of that in Justice League Dark in the comics. So at any rate, I just think all those forces kind of merge into a show that I think has great content and is really enjoyable for me to watch, but I think is really tough for mainstream America to stomach for 22 episodes in a season. And that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. So, and then kind of in the background, and I'm trying to get through the entire, first season of Constantine right now. But in the background, and just before I started that run, I watched a couple more episodes of the BBC's Robin Hood series. I started the X-Files, which is gonna. I may shift some things around as far as TV shows go, but that's one series that I've had on my list to get back to forever because I was in college when it came out, and so I just never got into watching it consistently. And then I am continuing to try and pound through the Fast and Furious franchise with Too Fast, Too Furious, and I put up my combo review of the second movie and the first movie, kind of comparing the two, which is going to be my shtick for this viewing. I'm going to take two movies at a time and compare them until I get up to Furious 7.
I'll be interested to hear your comparison of 3 and Tokyo Drift and the other ones, because that one's very different.
Yeah, and it's an unfair look. It's an impure look, definitely, because I'm going to be viewing 3 knowing that those characters are coming back, whereas when most people saw 3, it was just like completely random characters, and people thought it was just like this one-off movie that didn't have any relevance to the rest of the franchise.
Right.
So it'll be a little different.
To be fair, I really enjoyed Tokyo Drift. I think it's probably the best of their original trilogy, and that's just my opinion. But
right.
A lot of people think that.
Yeah, I liked it.
I hear a lot people who are doing like what I'm doing and looking at it through a rear view mirror, going back to it and watching it, not having seen it when it released, kind of feel the same way.
Okay.
And I'm done.
All right, thanks, guys, please. John, you've been quiet for the first 20 minutes of this podcast. What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, I have nothing. I had nothing to say about Constantine. But anyway,
and I left one thing off that John's going to mention, and hopefully John will also plug our podcast and both of our reviews.
Of course, yeah. Well, I'll start off. So I caught up on Bates Motel with the hopes of some guest to come on, but that didn't really come through. So. But
I haven't heard from him. We were supposed to get, what's his name, Jonathan?
Kenny Johnson
from the hit movie Blade, and
whatever. So I watched a season and a half of Bates to catch up, in preparation. But I don't regret it. It's actually really good.
That was the season finale. I know that's what they were wanting to kind of boost was.
I agree with Chris Perry. His review was actually pretty spot on. I would have given it an 8 too. It was good. That was pretty much it.
Do you want to see more?
I do.
Okay.
I would be interested to see more. Yeah. Okay. Then I saw Mad Max, which is where I'll plug in Agassicles. He and I went in length about the film. We both had different opinions on it, but I think we brought our opinions together and. We really looked at it in a very interesting way, the film as a whole. I liked it a lot. It's my favorite out of the 4 in the series. I saw a couple of more. I'm about halfway through Star Wars Rebels. That's kind of like my little guilty pleasure when I want to
feel guilty for that.
Brad's a fan, yeah.
Yeah, I love Star Wars.
It's great. Yeah, I really like it. Just like when I don't want to watch those live action stuff anymore and just spend 20 minutes watching something fun. It's really fun to watch. The Flash finale, and then Penny Dreadful. I've been trying to binge watch that to get to season 2. That's on now.
Okay.
That's what I watched.
Wait till you get to the very last episode of Star Wars Rebels. You might know what happens now, but I totally didn't expect it, and it's a good little twist at the end.
Yeah, I'm excited. I like it a lot. The action, the story. It's a lot of fun to watch, like I said.
Lens flare.
Yep. Working on that. So, Brad, what have you been watching this week?
Well, I watched Mad Max, and I think I'm the only person in America.
Through Pink Eye?
Yeah, no, I watched it before. It was before Pink Eye. Maybe I caught the Pink Eye at the theater.
From Mad Max.
Mad Max begins with my world is on fire and blood and pink eye.
Maybe it was just that I knew I had a long day ahead because I went and watched a matinee of Mad Max right before I knew I had to go chaperone a high school prom. So maybe I was just kind of
That's probably where you caught the pink eye.
No, definitely not. So I was kind of not in the best, frame. I was not ready to kind of sit there and indulge a summer blockbuster, maybe. But hey, movie does a lot of cool things. I like, is it Furiosa that Charlize Theron played? She is a very good female character, strong female character. I kind of looked at her as the lead of the film, and I think if you take that perspective, you enjoy the movie maybe a little more. If you were expecting Tom Hardy to go in cracking skulls and things like that, I mean, that's not Mad Max. I realize that. It was just a little off-putting because I was chatting with John a little bit about this earlier in the week. I expected more from Tom Hardy. It was a great performance. I just expected more dialogue-wise, but man, the set pieces. And he does look like Bane for 3/4 of the movie with that mask they have on him. So that was a little weird. But to think he's the scene where he's strapped to that car and they're filming that, and I mean the practical effects are insane. It's one of
I'm reading up on it, and to know that I haven't seen the movie yet, but to know that there's a character that has a electric guitar. It's a vehicle. It's a missile launcher military vehicle that has got stacks on stacks of amps, and he's got an electric guitar, a bungee attached to him, and when he plays it, it shoots flames out of it. And to know that none of that was CGI and all filmed in real time, that is like mind-blowing. Nobody does that anymore, and to know that they did that is just incredible. And
that this is the guy that directed, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I believe he directed the original Mad Max, directed Babe, and is 70-something years old. And he's on set directing...
And Happy Feet.
Yeah, and Happy Feet. Directing these practical effects, and that from that standpoint, the movie was a 10 if you're judging it off of action set pieces.
So practical effects in Babe were amazing.
Brad, that was going to be my question for you, Brad. If you had to score it on a Geeks with Wives 10-point scale, what would you score it?
On Geeks with Wives, I would give it a 7 out of 10. But for me personally, I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it. It was not my thing. It's not a complicated story, and everything doesn't have to be. I went in expecting something different, and that doesn't mean what I got was necessarily bad, but sometimes when you have a vision of something in your mind built up, it can be off-putting. So now that I've had a chance to digest it and think about it, I would probably give it about a 7 out of 10.
Okay. And Jonathan, it was a 9.5 for you, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
What'd you rate it?
I called it a 6 for me.
Yeah, I read your little thing today, I guess, because I actually agree with a lot of what you said. It was mainly what we spoke about in the spoiler cast, but I was just thinking about maybe it was because I saw the other ones recently, but I just felt I was kind of rating it off of those, and I just felt it was much better than those original ones, so much better. But yeah, I do mention in my review that Tom Hardy's performance is very Bane-like.
Yeah,
it's very Bane-like, and it kind of goes against him. He's such a great performer. We know how good of an actor he is. I mean, you can list a bunch of movies with him in it that he's so much better.
Inception.
Yeah, that's
Bronson
just one right there.
Is a good one. Like Bronson. The bad thing is, it was 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, 99% at one point, and I guess maybe from reviewing things for website for a couple years and my own thing for a couple years, I kind of get that in that mindset where I'm like, okay, show me you're a 98%. I want to see it rather than going in and enjoying the experience.
Yeah, right. I feel like some of those scores are a little reverse Nickelback, right? It's people are like hugely fans of the franchise. People are huge fans of Tom Hardy. I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was rated on what you hit upon, Brad, with the the practical effects being just there's no CGI, and so people were just like, we're just gonna give it a 9.5 or a 10 because of it didn't use special effects. When I on the Spoilercast for Gascades, I mentioned how a couple of weeks back you go to Avengers and the Vision is just Paul Bettany's face and everything else is CGI.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
And
kind of
I-
refreshing in that way.
And I give it the nod
Yeah.
for that, but I mean, the
Right.
people who are rating it, well, and I'm not talking about you, Jonathan, but
Yeah.
people who are rating it like a 10, right, or saying it's like an, I'm like, and not everybody does like strict comparisons, right, between like their previous review scores or how they thought about a movie. I definitely do because it's the only way to keep it straight in my head. But I mean, if the movie's a 10, are we saying Mad Max is a better movie than Avengers: Age of Ultron? Is it a better movie than other movies that kind of in your head are a 10? It's different. It's different. I definitely give it that, and I also definitely acknowledge that maybe for some people, it is a significantly better movie than Avengers or Avengers 2 or any other thing that's been like hugely popular over the last few years.
I try to compare it to something within the genre. So like comparing Mad Max to not, let's say, the previous Mad Max films, but something like Terminator 2 or something like Die Hard, like a older, practical
Death
effects. Not Death Race, no. But and when some of the people are saying this matches up to some of the greatest action films of all time, like Terminator 2 and Die Hard. That's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, my name's John Connor, so I can't agree with that. Sorry. Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah. No, if you're gonna compare it to Terminator 2, no way.
No. All right.
Sorry.
Cool.
Thanks, Brad. Let's try and
We can move on from me. It's fine.
Yeah, because Steven, you don't have any clue what you watched this week. You watched Uwat.
Uwat. If Tyler was here, he would know what Uwat means. And it's actually from last week. I realized that after I typed it. Of course, I watched Flash, and we will be doing later, after everyone, even the UK, hopefully, has had a chance to catch up on the Flash. We'll do a spoiler cast about the season finale of Flash and overall season 1 of the Flash. What we thought. I'm very excited about that. I can honestly say that I was not expecting the direction that they took with that episode, and it
was fantastic. Yeah,
it was amazing.
If you want to hear more people, including Brad, talk about it, you can listen to the Capes podcast. I kind of agree with Casey. I didn't like how, I kind of like when a season wraps up at the end. I feel like, Arrow gave us a few cliffhangers, but it wrapped up the season pretty well. And Flash decided not to do that, which is okay.
Well,
you could argue against that, but we'd have to get into spoilers.
Right, and we can't do that.
But
right.
I like the way they did it, and we'll definitely talk more about Flash.
Yeah, because Brad mentioned something, how the Flash finale could affect Arrow's next season, and it blew my mind. I hadn't thought of that, and so I want to kind of discuss that further on another.
I tried to be vague.
I'm not caught up on Arrow.
And it's an interesting choice that those two shows made, and a bit of a head fake for me, because I swore Arrow was going to end like that. I swore Arrow was going to end very much in the way that the mid-season cliffhanger ended.
Mm-hmm.
That really, it would be an incomplete story, and you would have to sit around all summer and come back to see where it picked up. I thought it was going to end with, with him being out of position and not in his normal thing, but just weird.
I love when shows wrap up nicely, like the first 4 or 5 seasons of Dexter. No, first 4 seasons of Dexter. They wrap the season up, and it gives you kind of a happy ending.
Yeah,
Not Lost.
No.
They just didn't know what the hell they were doing and Lost.
I'll do it my own podcast about.
I love Lost. It's like one of my top 3 favorite shows of all time. So we need to do a Lost podcast again.
The other thing I watched, just to keep this going, because we're eating away our time and we haven't even gotten to the main topic. Last week I watched Once Upon a Time season finale. I don't know if you guys watch it. I always try and recommend it. It is not um, just a fairy tale princess. The prince saves the girl story. It's a really cool, dynamic, and always changing story, and they give you different perspectives on characters that you never would have thought of. And how they wrapped that season was just amazing. It was, again, another show that had a finale that took at the very last bit a turn that you didn't really see coming, and really just made me go, wow, that was an excellent episode. So I really think it was great. If you guys haven't watched it, catch up and watch it all and binge watch and do that. It's great. Other than that, I've just been forced to watch Dancing with the Stars. So, hey,
CK's not on. You can't talk about Dancing with the Stars.
it's okay. So yeah, that was it. That's what I watched.
Yeah.
So what did you watch, Everett?
I was gonna say, speaking of CK, I kind of pulled. I call it pulling a CK because I left my Netflix on, and The Return started playing, which is a Netflix series. It's an interesting concept, that show. Hopefully, like it's about like the school bus. Like you and Brad might feel a little sad about this, Steven, but like a bunch of kids are on a day trip or on a a class trip or whatever, and the school bus careens off a cliff, and
I've had many dreams about that.
and
Good comment.
and I think it's about 7 years later, a few of the kids just show back up.
That's
Out of nowhere.
fantastic.
They have no clue that they died. They don't remember the bus going off the cliff or anything. They just show up
They
like
have
a girl.
Are they older or the
No,
same age?
no, they're the same age. And the girl comes home. She's like fixing a sandwich in her mom's kitchen, and her mom comes in. She's like, "Hey, mom," and she's just fixing it. And her mom's like freaking out. And she's like, "Are you kidding me? Are you still mad at me for going out? Not coming home till this time last night?" And she like goes up to her room, and her mom's just like stunned. And it's interesting. I'm not sure if they're gonna pull a more religious thing out of it, like that
Right.
the whole Satan, and that these kids are back from purgatory or something. I have no clue what they're doing. I've only seen 4 episodes, but it's interesting. It's a 10-episode season on Netflix, so check that out if that sounds like something you're interested in. Just to kind of keep moving through here, since we were doing disaster movies this week, I decided to watch a disaster movie, which was made by the people that did like Not Another Teen Movie and Scary Movie.
I
And
hate those movies.
I got about 8 minutes in and turned it off.
Thank God.
Really? I can't
Right.
believe you turned it off. You normally sit through even the worst movies.
It was bad. I turned it off about the time they started doing a High School Musical parody with the main characters, and it was like a full "we're all in this together" like song and dance thing. And I was just like, this doesn't have anything to do with disaster movies from what I've seen, so I'm turning it off. I said I wasn't going to watch it last week. I watched Game of Thrones. And
Yeah.
every week
watched
it
it
pisses
too.
me off more and more and more. And I'm not talking about there was a specific scene, an RAPE scene that a lot of people had a problem with, and I had a problem with it only because that character doesn't have that happen to her in the books. And I felt it was kind of unnecessary, but I don't have a problem with the actual scene itself like most people. Like, I think...
Well,
Because you're a terrible person.
No, I think that character is a strong female character, and I think it's only going to make her stronger. And she came out and said, she thought it was a kind of interesting change for her character, and I kind of agree with, if she's okay with it. And I know it's really offensive to a lot of people, but I just feel like, it's not the first time we've seen those type of acts.
That's one of the problems people had with it. Is this the third time that
Right.
one of the female leads has been raped on the show?
Yeah.
And the fact that that character wasn't raped in the book, it's like, why have this character be raped at this moment?
Yeah.
And
And this
a
is
lot
like, and that's like one of the book spoilers that I'm talking about. Like, that George R. R. Martin said this is just a retelling of the same story in a different fashion. But if she eventually gets there and does get raped by this other character in a book, or in like the next book, I'm going to be pretty upset. But for the most point, she's nowhere near this character in the books.
It's just a lot of sites said they're boycotting like covering Game of Thrones after this. That they were, I mean, a lot of people were offended, as big as a hit as Game of Thrones is. But that brings up a whole Pandora's box of discussion that we don't have time for. So
no, I mean, I totally get both sides of the argument. I get it 100%. Like I'm not real. I really didn't enjoy the scene. I thought it was unnecessary. I really want to quit that show, but I've only got 4 episodes left. I might just push through it and see how it ends, and then probably not watch. Just prepare myself to not watch the next season. That's probably what I might do.
How was Pompeii? We talked about you were watching it.
That was a movie that I prepared for this topic, because it is actually a disaster movie. It's kind of like Dante's Inferno meets Gladiator, or Spartacus, the show that I know you like, John. It's very much like, I was joking, like it's about Jon Snow, who falls in love with Baby Doll from Sucker Punch. But Baby Doll has an admirer who is Jack Bauer from 24. And I totally had no clue that Kiefer Sutherland was a British actor. Whenever he was speaking British, I was like, psh, his accent's terrible. And then I looked it up on IMDb, and he's actually British. So yeah, just shows you what I know. But it was I actually really enjoyed it. It got pretty bad reviews from critics, but for the most part, it's a really cool like Gladiator film. Like it's very much akin to Gladiator and Spartacus, and it's got some great scenes. Like Pompeii is just south of Rome, so they had a fighting arena and everything there, but it's also on the bottom of a volcano, and it turns into a disaster flick halfway through the movie when the volcano starts erupting, and it's interesting, just like a disaster flick set in ancient Rome. It's kind of cool. I really recommend it. Jon Snow, he was okay. Kit Harington, he's okay in the
spoilers. The volcano erupts and a lot of people die.
Pretty much. So that's usually what happens with volcanoes.
Especially.
Yeah, and then the last thing that I watched that I know Gaskley is excited to talk about is the Supergirl pilot, because it was leaked and it's all over the damn place now. You can find it on YouTube and on several video streaming sites.
There's a rumor going around now that CBS may have intentionally leaked it to
they
garner
totally
hype.
Did. They totally did, and the CW did the same with the Flash. And the Flash's hype was real. It brought a ton of people. So
I think I watched the leaked Flash pilot probably 8 times.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, I was that pumped, ready for Flash.
And and I know Gaskley is gonna be writing a pretty an article that I'm looking forward to about kind of the ethics of watching, reviewing, and sharing leaked pilots and stuff like that. Right, Gaskley?
Yeah, sorta, kinda. Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, the article, I guess the article, and I don't mind, pulling back the curtain a little bit on kind of some of the conversations that went around the staff on Geeks with Flash today. It's most of the comments I made and what the article will mainly be about isn't so much of whether you do or you don't, but is whether you consider both paths and whether or not there's a discussion around it.
Right.
So yeah, and where I sit, I get it. I'm a purist, right? And we talk about that a lot, right? I kind of, you know, of- you know, a Marvel movie will release its casting news, and I'll kind of track it through casting pretty much up until it starts shooting, and then I really try and get off the grid. Right at that point, anytime I see anything on a web page that says, new movie X or like set shots are a thing that I particularly try and stay away from because, kind of like Brad mentioned, as a reviewer and a writer, we're just kind of already tilted down a path of becoming jaded in our own view of the things that we cover. So I really try and keep my personal experience as close to a normal person, so to speak, as I can.
Right.
But also because that's the way I enjoy it. Like I really don't enjoy knowing a lot of stuff before I go see a thing. About all my content. Like one of the jokes I always mention about Halo 3 in particular is like, I swear to God, I could tell you what the Bungie developers were having for lunch during the development cycle of that movie because there was just so much. I mean, development cycle of that game because there was just so much stuff out about it, and I'm just like, it's just not necessary. So yeah, I mean, the conversation we had earlier today was, as many sites do. At different points when an article like that is going to drop is just the conversation of, should we or shouldn't we? And that's just kind of what I'm going to talk about in the article.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point to bring up. I know we're going to gloss over it a little later when we talk news, but it's like with the Suicide Squad stuff now. It's like every day I see something new about it with photos or a video, and it's like, stop.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the same sites, like Comic Book Movie and, a few of the other big sites out there that do all the Suicide Squad and Civil War leaked photos and stuff reporting, we're trying to, say, we're not gonna talk about the Supergirl pilot because we, respect CBS or whatever. But, whatever. Screw CBS. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. So.
Well, my thing is,
we're a very, very small news outlet, so we take what we can get. Is my point of view.
I just always want to view something how the creator intended me to view it, right? I don't want to view, let's see, Game of Thrones, for example, when they leaked. I don't know if the showrunners wanted us to view that non-HD quality with a watermark at the bottom.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I think
when it has a watermark, I highly doubt that that the company leaked it. But everyone, even in like the articles saying they weren't going to mention it, they mentioned that it had no watermark on it, which means
even the Flash one had a watermark that said not for distribution, and
And I get where Gascles is coming from because, like I mentioned earlier, the Constantine pilot that I have, or that I had seen earlier, that was also leaked, that I also reported on the site, it ended with Liv deciding to go with John Constantine on his journey, and then later, she quit the show, and they had to completely rewrite her out of the show and out of the scene. And so if all you did, like me, and watch that early pilot, and then you watch episode 2, and you're like, whoa, where the hell's Liv at? Supergirl could do the exact same thing. It could, one of the characters might be written out, or they might change the direction of the show completely after this pilot was released based on, like, kind of the feedback, that they've been getting, which has been mostly positive for the show.
Okay. I got a litmus test for you. If Star Wars leaks tomorrow, episode 7, are you going to watch it?
Definitely.
Do you think J.J. Abrams really intended you... Let's say it's a perfect HD quality. Is the true way to experience that on a computer screen or even on your 60-inch TV, or is it in the theater? No, but it's just that initial viewing should not be...
See, now, if it's on... If it's on my flat screen TV that I can hook my computer up to 6 months early, or theaters.
I'm not trying to brag because, Yeah, my wife's the one who makes the money, obviously. I'm a teacher, but I mean, I have a good setup, man. I have like a 60-inch TV, 7.2 surround sound, the whole
Right.
9 yards,
But
man. But
it
like,
doesn't beat it. Yeah.
I can't watch the Star Wars on that screen. Like, I have to see it in a theater.
Well, like Agaskli said, it's whether it's kind of a pure. He's a purist. I'm about as pure as a muddy lake. So everyone should know that if they've been watching this show or reading my reviews.
Or have any dealings with Everett at all.
Right. Yeah, that's why Steven's such a.
That's
such
why I
an ass
try and
now.
get away from you guys as much as possible.
Watch the first episode Steven was in. He's such a nice young man, and now he's just horrible person.
I'm a
But
jerk.
yeah, let's move into disaster movies because we
Yes.
are running low on time, and we've got some news, but we could probably blow through the news pretty fast. So disaster movies. San Andreas is coming out. How do you guys feel about San Andreas? Because the first thing, me and Wayne watched this on the very first trailer cast, and we kept saying it's really interesting because it's a localized disaster film. Like, people in John's neighborhood in New York during this movie are like, "Oh, that sucks for California."
Right, and they're fine. And
And
their
they're
power's
fine.
still on, and they can still take the subway places,
Right.
and they still have air conditioning, and the traffic's still terrible.
Right.
It doesn't change them at all.
Like, what do you guys think? Are disaster films lesser because they're localized, or do they have to be global to be like truly terrifying or realistic, or
I think
Localized
them
is-
being localized makes it more realistic because,
Yeah.
I mean, we have stuff like that happen. I mean, we had, tornadoes go through towns and rip ceilings off of school gymnasiums while the school was full of kids. I mean, that it picks up trees and all kind of stuff. That didn't happen at my house, but it happened for real for all these people that live in this town, and it truly did affect them. Now, it wasn't a global thing, but that doesn't, I think it being more localized makes that almost more believable in a sense that I feel like something could happen, and this may be not a true representation of it, but I mean, this is believable in what would happen, what would take place, and could be terrifying.
It's more relatable. That's the thing.
Right.
Mhm.
I think there's something to be said, though, just in terms of impact, from watching a film, of the there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide kind of effect that you get.
Yeah.
And I guess we're going to go through maybe a couple of these movies, but like the one, at least in recent memory, that sticks with me is 2012. And
Yeah.
I'm like that. Hey, yeah, that's a movie that just gives me the Wiggins, right? Because I mean, it's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you were, it was
Right.
going to affect you.
Gotta have
Right.
John Cusack's standing to get on those arcs.
yeah,
The reason I was excited for San Andreas is because it kind of harkened me back to my childhood when disaster movies were kind of a big deal. Right? Because you had Independence Day, Deep Impact, Armageddon, the Godzilla, the Matthew Broderick one that came out. Like, you had kind of a rush in disaster movies. I'm sure I'm leaving out a few here or there. You had Dante's Peak, and you had Volcano. A bunch of good run of disaster movies there. And that seemed to be the big trope in Hollywood, or the big subgenre film, if you will. And nowadays, we don't see as much of it because maybe it's played out. But I put this as a question I wanted to ask you guys: has kind of the destruction and things like superhero movies, which Man of Steel's a disaster movie in and of itself, has that kind of taken away some of the luster, some of the thrill of a pure disaster movie? Has it been overdone, and have superhero movies kind of exploited that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that was my reaction to San Andreas when I saw the trailer for the first time. Was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like another movie where there's nowhere to go and you've got the main actor in a helicopter in some type of car saving everybody. How? When everybody else is like beyond help, I don't know. It's kind of glorified. I don't even know how to describe it. But yeah, no, definitely there's a lot. I mean, even with like Avengers, the destruction in that movie with certain scenes.
I get what you were trying to say, John, because you were about to say it's kind of like a glorified, like, I'm not sure exactly the word either, but it's just tons of people getting killed, just over and over and over and over.
Yeah, and it's never addressed ever.
Right.
Like Man of Steel, it's like he's destroying all these buildings, and no one ever mentions it. And then Metropolis at the end is like, "Oh hey, we built it."
Batman holds him accountable, and Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. But moving on.
Yeah.
Well, so this kind of bleeds into the next question I had. Like, how real and believable should it be to be a good film? Like, Godzilla, is a fantastically popular, product that they put out there, and Godzilla is not realistic at all. People argue. I'm sure the Japanese might argue, but like San Andreas is based off of something that could, maybe not to the scale. They're over exaggerating the scale of what could happen, but we've been told all of our lives that California's going to sink into the sea one day.
I guess for me, and maybe this bleeds into one of the other questions that you were going to ask, is if it doesn't have that element of realism with some smattering of science behind it, then to me it doesn't fall into the disaster movie genre. It more often than not falls into science fiction. So Independence Day, not a disaster movie for me. Godzilla, not a disaster movie.
Armageddon.
Okay.
I would.
My favorite.
Armageddon falls into disaster movie for me.
I would say so too.
Because it's a natural, and that's the whole point. It's a natural event. It's for the people who come at it from that perspective, it's the act of God kind of thing. It is the whole point of it is that, again, it's a movie that is designed to make human beings feel small. One or two is designed to make either it's designed to make us feel small. Even when it's a disaster that we invoke, it's designed to show us why there's maybe certain things we shouldn't muck with, or if we do monkey with them, if we are going to build really big ships and put them out on the ocean, then maybe you should at least keep the damn binoculars with the lookouts, for instance.
Yeah.
Speaking of monkeys, I wanted to mention like going out to Planet of the Apes. I feel,
nice segue.
I feel like that's my favorite of recent.
Damn
I mean, it's not
apes.
exactly disaster, but what I like about that is it kind of makes you second guess yourself a little bit and say, is it possible? I mean, it's got that fictiony part, obviously.
Well, let's just kind of pull every the old Geeks on Screen ways out of the hat here, and let's just go through and everyone can say their favorite disaster movie and why. We'll start with you, Steven.
Oh, I don't want to go first because
I
will. You want me to?
It's hard. Let me think, and then by the time Brad gets done, I should have a good response.
And it's my favorite guilty pleasure movie of all time too, because it's not a great movie. Agastocles mentioned it. Armageddon.
That movie is a great movie, and I will stand by that.
My friends give me hell for it, and they always have, because it's like my fourth favorite. It's my personally, not saying it's some great film, not putting it up on a pedestal, but saying that it's my fourth favorite film of all time, behind The Dark Knight, behind Spider-Man 2, and behind The Empire Strikes Back, is Armageddon. I just love it. I love the sacrifice at the end. I'm an Armageddon guy over a Deep Impact guy. You're either one or the other. You can't be in both camps, right? It's like the Yankees and the Red Sox, pretty much. But when that movie came out, I mean, it was when Michael Bay was actually making these grandiose films, but they had some humanity left in them. Not a ton, but a bit. And it focused on how this giant disaster that was impacting the entire world was impacting, at least on a very small level, them in a humane way. So I love it, man. I love when they go up there. I love the whole swapping of the patch. I love the ensemble cast, which is,
Affleck driving that car over that canyon that's like 10 times as wide as the Grand Canyon.
yeah.
That scene's the shit, man. It's so good.
We need to
I'm there with you, man.
Let's do a commentary for that one day, for real. That and Jason
Mystery
X.
Science Theater 3000, Geeks with Wives.
Gas Cleese, what's your favorite disaster flick? Is it 2012?
I'm going to say 2012.
Okay.
It may not necessarily qualify as my favorite of all time.
Right.
I'm not thinking back through it. I'll also say, wow, yeah, that's not really a disaster movie. So yeah, I'll stick with 2012.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So mine, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I would categorize this movie as a disaster movie. And I'll give you my explanation before I give you what the movie is.
Oh God,
and I'll see if you agree with me before I tell you what it is.
Is it ants?
Sickness. Yeah, it's Bug's Life, actually. Way better than Ants. Ants was a terrible knockoff. I hated that movie. Sickness. And it spread.
To be fair, Bug's Life and Ants are disaster movies on their own damn right.
In their own right, they are.
So, Steven, are you going with Outbreak?
No. But a sickness spreads, and it causes mass contagion everywhere, and they try and find a way to stop the disease from spreading. World War Z. It's not necessarily a zombie movie. It is, but it's not. But I mean, it's a disease that has caused all these people to be sick, and it has spread so fast and so far, and it's we have diseases that mutate every day and change, and new things pop up, and how long before the next Ebola happens, and it's something more real. And so I think World War Z is probably one of my favorite disaster movies to watch. I categorize that as a disaster movie. To me, that's not as much science fiction as some of the others.
So the difference between a post-apocalyptic movie being that a post-apocalyptic movie focuses more on life after the event, right? Whereas disaster movies, we're focusing on what you're actually in the event. Would that be a general way of deciphering the two, you guys would say?
I'm on board with that. And I have not seen World War Z, but I will back Steven up. The thing that I find so interesting about the World War Z concept, specifically to the zombie genre, but maybe also to if you put it in disaster movies, is with zombie movies, and I may have mentioned this before, what we always see is the aftermath, right? The outbreak has happened. There are walkers all over the place. People are waking up, trying to figure out, what the heck is going on. I love this concept of, tell me how it happened, right? Because I need a good example of how to plan for the zombie apocalypse. So, so I need to understand what goes down, before it's over and before we're living in the world after.
I highly recommend watching World War Z. It's on Netflix, both versions actually, the regular and then the unrated or uncut. I'm not sure which one. Fantastic movie, really good.
And I think that would be a disaster movie. It would kind of be both because it focuses on that disaster of the outbreak happening, and then it focuses on
you see it from the very beginning when it starts in like New York, and you watch it go until the end of the movie. It's very cool.
Yeah,
so that would be mine. If that didn't count, I was going to say 2012.
Okay, what about you, John?
Iron Giant. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to say
Transformers.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I'm going to stick with that one. I really like that one. It just, like I said, it makes you second guess yourself.
Now, is that the new one, the James Franco one?
The new one.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. The one that came out the most recent.
It's
The
Rise. Rise of the Planet of the
Rise
Yeah,
was James
Rise.
The new one.
Franco. The new one, right?
No, Don was Franco, right? That
Right,
was the
and
first
Rise
one, and
is the
Rise
new
is
one.
that just
Yeah.
came out with Gary Oldman in it. Yeah,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to make sure it was the 21st century versions, not
Right,
the
yeah, not the
60s or
old
70s ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn dirty apes.
Damn dirty.
Well,
apes.
what do you guys think about Roland Emmerich? He's the disaster movie director. He did Independence Day, did Day After Tomorrow. He did 2012. He did 10,000 BC. Like, he has a signature kind of niche cut out in the disaster movie market. Are you guys fans of most of his films?
Well, I was gonna say my favorite, which is Day After Tomorrow. So
Okay.
I
I'm sorry,
definitely-
Everett. I didn't
No,
mean-
no, it's cool. I mean, it was a decent segue.
Yeah.
I'd consider myself a fan of his. He does like a good realistic. You know, he writes it in a way so that the main characters always live, and that was one of the things I was going to ask: is should they be realistic enough to actually kill off the main characters, or do you think that would lessen the enjoyment that you get out of a disaster flick?
I think that it goes back to basically our Age of Ultron happenings. You know, we have a main character die. Did we have to have that? We had a first movie and nobody really died. You know, and that it was still a great movie, but why in the second movie did we have to have that? And I believe the reasoning behind it is in war, if you have a war and you don't lose anyone, was it really that big of a deal? Do you consider that a war still? Because in war, you lose people all the time. Important, you know, everybody's important when it comes to a war. And, you know, it makes more of an impact when you do lose somebody that is, quote unquote, a main character or whatever. So having a disaster movie and then having a main character get killed off, that could make it have way more impact, especially now because we've had so many movies where they don't die. Everyone makes it out. And, you know, there's the miracle cure or the miracle stop button or whatever, and everyone's saved at the last second. But to have somebody make that ultimate sacrifice or just not make it in general always leaves you with a sense of awe and amazement, I think. So.
Yeah, and I think we do. And of course, I can't call any out at my fingertips. I feel like there are definitely disaster movies where either the main character or a very prominent character gives themselves up. You know, Man of Steel. You know, Jonathan Clark sacrifices himself at the beginning.
Right.
Oh wait, is that a disaster movie? So anyway,
He just walks into the tornado and.
But yeah, I think there's definitely disaster movies where somebody gets knocked off. I will say for the movies that choose not to do that, to me, one of the big things about a disaster movie is, you know, half of it is the fun that the director gets in just destroying stuff on a planetary scale, and that's cool to really see rendered on screen. But I think the other point of the disaster movie is to give people hope. It's kind of non-intuitive, right? Because you see all this death and destruction, but I think one of the things that they want to, you know, kind of posterize on the end of it is, hey, the whole point is that this happened and a lot of bad things came out of it, but at the end of the day, the human race, you know, goes on and figures out a way
We're
to
strong enough
survive and
to
thrive.
keep
Right.
moving, keep going.
Right.
Okay. Well, John, we know that you would survive a disaster and would make it into the post-Judgment Day apocalypse of Terminator.
Yeah, I was there earlier.
But which natural disaster are you most likely to survive? We're going to find out because we're doing another quiz. So I'm gonna put you through a quiz. I'm gonna ask you 10 questions, and we'll do it real quick because I know we gotta move on. What's your favorite breakfast, John? Is it oatmeal, eggs, granola bars, French toast, pancakes, or you don't eat breakfast? Eggs. Boom. All right. What kind of club would you join, John? A gym, like a nightclub, a LARP club, A book club, a chef or a cooking club, or a fantasy
Culinary.
football club. So
Oh.
gym, nightclub, LARPing, book, cooking, or fantasy football.
Book.
Book club. There's your 20,000
Yeah.
Leagues Under the Sea. Pick a pair of
Yeah.
shoes, John. Would you wear rain boots, kind of military boots, no shoes, Uggs, sneakers? What would you wear?
Sneakers.
Sneakers? Okay. Let's see. Pick an exotic pet that you like. A toucan, a monkey, a snake, a lion, a sea otter, or a cheetah.
Ooh. Cheetah.
Okay. Might have been a leopard, but what the hell do I know? What kind of home? What kind of home do you live in, John? Do you live in an apartment or a suburban home? You live in a mansion?
Oh, let's go mansion.
Well, I mean, what kind of home do you live
real
in
life.
now?
I just want to take it. I like that idea, mansion.
No,
When
but
it's
that,
big.
we're talking about what you could survive, John. Do you live in an apartment in New York? Everyone lives in an apartment in New York.
No, I live in a house.
In a house. Okay, so we're gonna go suburban home. Sorry, future John, that's gonna be living in a mansion.
Not today.
Yeah.
So if you were to build a structure out of something, would it be like wood? Would it be stone? Would it be like a concrete, or would it be glass?
Let's go wood.
Wood? Okay. All right. What would be your survival tool of choice? Would it be a bucket, a first aid kit, your brain, rope, a shovel, like a spade, or a pen, like a writing pen?
I'm gonna say my brain.
The pen is mightier than the sword. Remember that.
Right.
That's true.
This is pretty funny here. Who are you in your group of friends? Are you the mother goose, the scapegoat, the fixer, the clown, the wild card, or the host?
Oh. Let's go the clown.
The clown. Okay. You're answering these truthfully because you want to know what you're going to survive. You might as well just give up if it's not the answer. Who would be your partner in crime? Your best friend, your mother, or your father, your love interest, or you're a lone wolf? You have no partner in crime.
Lone wolf.
Okay, and last, let's see. How would you react to danger? You'd ignore it, you'd curl up and cry, you'd scream, you'd fight, you'd hide, or you'd embrace the danger.
I'd embrace it.
You did not answer these truthfully. All right, John, so we're going to find out what natural disaster...
Flooding. Mild flooding.
It's a forest fire.
Everything else would kill you instantly.
Says not many are endowed the triumph over merciless flames, churning torrential heat and destruction through miles of woodland. But somehow you prove yourself capable, John. Good job.
Kind of ties in to the last quiz.
Yeah, you could move to California, and there's a lot of forest fires there.
Yeah.
Just go over there and teach the people how to live your ways. All right, so last question on the disaster movies. Does the Golden Gate Bridge have to be destroyed in every disaster film to be a good disaster film?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it has to, but it's one of those things. I think as a generation, as moviegoers or as people who make stuff, we like having nods to other things in our past that has helped us get to where we are. And I think that we have seen so many older films and so many other people destroy giant bridges and structures and
Right.
the Golden Gate Bridge before, that anytime now that you have the opportunity to do that in a movie or a show, you do it because that's just what you do. I mean, it's not that it has to be, but people are like, well, I mean, we gotta blow something up. Let's do it. You know, I mean, that's just, they do that just because that's kind of acceptable. I think it's
I feel
just
like maybe it's because the U.S. doesn't have as many like well-known throughout the world landmarks. Like you get either
Statue of
the
Liberty.
Statue of Liberty, like submerged in the ice or on a beach, like in Planet of the Apes. You'll get
White House.
right, like White House. Legends of Tomorrow has the arch, the St. Louis Arch.
hmm
which
Right.
is pretty prevalent in some disaster films, and then you got the Golden Gate Bridge, but there's not a whole lot else.
Mount
I can
Yeah.
think
Rushmore.
of.
Somebody needs to blow up Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that gets blown up in a lot of alien films.
Yeah.
Like aliens would know that that's our presidents.
Historical and means something.
They'd be
to
like,
us.
"Hey, that mountain looks like humans. Blow it up."
I'd
I
rather
think-
see like aliens come and fill up the Grand Canyon with like cement.
What about the
Alien.
Space Needle? Somebody should blow that up.
Yeah, I feel like that's in a few movies. I'm not sure if it's all in disaster.
And
By somebody, I
think
mean
about-
fictionally. All right.
yeah, not
Yeah.
I'm not being proponent to any
Dad
type
also
of
wants to
terrorism.
take a bus full of
No,
kids
no.
off the Golden Gate Bridge.
So Jonathan, just to cap your quiz responses. So that would mean you should have been in the movie Firestorm with Howie Long. If you want to check that out.
Yeah.
Just a burgeoning jewel of filmmaking.
I
That one.
love
Hell yeah, Howie Long, man.
It's a great movie. But no, I was just gonna. My only comment on what we were just talking about is, I just think that we live in a time where everybody loves references to stuff. So like when you're watching like X-Men: The Last Stand, it's like, oh my God, Magneto's not just holding a bridge; he's holding the Golden Gate Bridge. And people are like, oh look, I live not by there, and that's the prison I see across the ocean. It's just that connection, that instant connection people have immediately. So it's not just like any building; it's the Empire State Building, or I passed that on the ferry on the way to work.
Whenever it's a real place that we really
Right.
could go to, rather than this is some made up town that I couldn't drive to, in my car. It does mean more. It has more of an impact when it's something real. I totally agree with you, John.
Thank you.
All right, so
Well, we've got about 5 minutes left.
we're not gonna make that, Steve.
We're not gonna make it.
We're gonna blast through the news, but first I kind of want to just ask you guys, out of everything we've got written here, is there anything that you want to talk about before I just destroy this news section?
Agent Carter.
Okay, what do you guys say about Agent Carter?
Well, season 2. It's gonna be in a new location. It's gonna be in LA instead of New York, which is pretty interesting. So it may change some stuff up in terms of story and who comes back next year and things like that. So that'll be pretty interesting. And I
think
heard
they'll start founding Shield finally, or
maybe. I heard it's gonna be 10 episodes instead of 8, which I still like. I like that still. I think it needs to be tight, especially in a mid-season show like that. So yeah, Agent Carter, watch it.
That's good. I watched it this week. I only have one thing. It's the Power Rangers being pushed back to January. Obviously, being a child of the 90s, I love the Power Rangers. I always dreamed of what a dark Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie could be, would be, especially after that one leaked a couple months ago. But January is a death kiss for movies. And moving it from summer to January and saying the Project Almanac director is going to be directing it doesn't give me the highest of hopes. So I'm definitely a little worried about that.
well, speaking of, just before we move on, speaking of leaked Power Rangers stuff and sharing leaked stuff, they leaked some of the concept art for the Megazords, or just the Zords that are going to appear in that movie.
Really?
And freaking who is it? It's not Konami. It's
Bandai.
Bandai.
Yeah.
Bandai, man, they were on that like a dog on a freaking steak, man. I
White
couldn't
on
find
rice.
right. I couldn't find a picture of that thing anywhere because they just gobbled it up on every site that tried to post those pictures.
Man, I wanted to see it.
See, I know, and I was like, dang it. I kind of was interested because they said that the I think the red and the pink Zord are different from. Completely different, and the other ones are it's kind of an interesting take. But yeah, the Megazords were leaked for a few hours. Yes, please. Sweet. You want to talk about some news?
The Crow.
Yeah, the Crow.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so, and usually I don't go in for all this and make a big deal out of it, but I'm not familiar with this actress. But if you remember the actor Michael Wincott, which I'm probably one of the few people who knows that dude by name, was pretty much the main villain in the original The Crow, and that character is now going to be played by Andrea Riseborough,
Mm-hmm.
Who's obviously is a female actress, redhead.
She was in Oblivion. She was the kind of number 2 with Tom Cruise before he found the other woman. She was pretty good in that.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. The Crow for me, pretty strong emotional attachment to that movie, just in terms of when it came out and kind of where I was in life. Have never felt like it really needed to be remade. I'm not really clear how you make that movie better. This doesn't necessarily give me any more misgivings than I already had for the film, but I knew it was going to set off a spark of controversy and nerd hatred. So
yeah, Tommy's already raged about it, I think, on 2 different episodes. So he's with you on that.
I will say, it's not so much that she's female, but just Michael Wincott is a very particular kind of method actor and pulls off a very particular kind of role. I shouldn't say method; he's more of a character actor. I mean, he was that. He was Guy of Gisborne in the Kevin Costner Robin Hood, which I'm also a fan of. So it's kind of disappointing that they weren't going for somebody who could kind of pull off that kind of character again.
Okay. Steven, is there something on here you want
to... the thing that I wanted to talk about, which surprises me and it really worries me to see, is that Now You See Me 3 is already in development. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, Now You See Me.
I loved it.
I am a magician.
I liked
That's
it
what
as well.
I do. I absolutely love to perform and be out there, and some of my favorite movies are The Illusionist and The Prestige. The Prestige, to me, is one of the all-time best movies. You got Batman and Wolverine, and they're both magicians. How can it get better than that? But Now You See Me was a really good film, in my opinion. Had an all-star cast.
I really enjoyed the
when it was over.
Effects.
Yes, they had a lot of CGI, but then there were magic tricks, and I have personal friends who worked on that movie and worked with that movie. Whenever they're doing the card manipulation in one scene, that's one of my buddies. That's his hands. That's his deck of cards. I mean, I know him. The books that they used in that movie, those are real books I own, that talk about real people, and so I have a different take on that movie than probably what you guys do, because I know more history into the performing art of magic than what you guys would know. And for me, Now You See Me, the first one was fantastic. So I wanted there to be a second one, and I'm happy that there is. And now we're getting people like Daniel Radcliffe is going to be in it, and we're going to have a bigger cast, and it's going to be hopefully even better than the first.
Is Daniel Radcliffe seriously going to do a movie about magic?
Yeah.
And he wants to let go of the Harry Potter name, man. People are going to give him so much Harry Potter shit. No, it's not going to be different. They're going to be like, so how's it feel to be back doing magic, Daniel Radcliffe?
But
he's gonna be like, shut up,
I don't feel like 2 has finished to me, or has had enough time to be as good as it can be, because the first one, I heard about that for a really long time, and then it finally came out, and boom, it was there. And now, all of a sudden, here's 2, and now all of a sudden we've got 3 under development.
The producers that were probably have already seen 2, just like the hard cut.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just enjoyed it and have that much faith in it that they just went ahead and greenlighted 3.
I have a lot of faith in it, and I know the magic community as a whole enjoyed that, the first movie, and supported it because it had those famous magicians and had people in it. Right. And so I know that the magic community will go out and support the second one, but I feel like sometimes you jump the gun and you shoot yourself in the foot.
I really just think the next movie needs David Blaine in it.
I would
That movie
like to
didn't
put
make
him on a bus. And
that movie didn't make that much money. I loved it. I put it in like
I
my top 10 that year, but it didn't
yeah.
make a ton of money. So it surprised me when they made a sequel, let alone a trilogy.
It was a very fun movie, and like the whole time you're thinking, how the hell are they pulling all this off? And when they finally reveal it, it's a really great twist. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's got a great plot, and it's one of those you can watch it once and it's a good movie. But if you
Right.
watch it twice, there's so much more that you catch and see, and
Yeah, definitely. I recommend it to people who haven't seen it because it's really
Yeah.
fun.
So that's the one thing I really wanted to hit. The only other thing would be the Legends of Tomorrow trailer, which was just great.
Yeah, yeah. We can. I think we talked about that last time. So, but we'll.
Yeah, we'll just skip over that then.
The one piece of news that I wanted to mention was that James Gunn has begun casting on Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying that he wants to have 2 females on the team for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is interesting because he's got a lot of options. He could have more, but if he's specifically said 2, but the working kind of project title for Guardians 2 is Guardians 3000. So it opens up way more possibilities than kind of the more modern fans of Guardians. So you've got like Quasar, and who could be Phi Lavelle if it's not Martyr. So they could have Phi Lavelle. She's a pretty standard member on their roster in the newer series. They could have Mantis. She's been in the comics for a long time, since Volume 2. And they could have Moondragon, who is Drax's daughter. So that would be interesting. Those are some interesting characters they could choose from. They just started putting Angela in the comics, and they're pushing her pretty hard. She's from Todd McFarlane's Spawn universe.
I bet that's who it'll be.
It very well could be Angela. It'd be very interesting. And then there's also rumors of Captain Marvel appearing in Guardians before in her own movie, so it's possible that she could be part of the team. Who knows, and then if they do focus on the original team, the year 3000 team, they could add freaking Nikki, they could add Sweet Jeans, they could add Starhawk, the female version of Starhawk in there. I mean, they've got tons and tons of options, so it'll be interesting to see who he picks. Like, Gascles was saying that he kind of likes to shy away from casting news once it starts, which I don't know. Hopefully there's some rumors of who they're casting before production starts, because I kind of feel the same way. But
the very last thing I want to say real quick, I'm not caught up on Arrow. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not. Stephen Amell has gone out and publicly said that he has worn the Arrow suit for the last time.
right.
And a lot of some people freaking out. He likes to put something out there and not give you all the information and make you go, oh, okay. Because he said something like that before. He's changing his outfit, and it was a change from the season 1 outfit to season 3, having different upgrades, and it was a little different. But he has gone out and said this will be the last time he wears the Arrow suit. A lot of people are just going ahead and speculating that when we hit the next season, he won't be Arrow anymore, and he'll go by Green Arrow.
Yeah.
And so you'll have an actual Green Arrow and a Green Arrow suit. So I think that's cool. I'm hoping for it, even though I've got a full Arrow suit and bow and everything.
It's still going to be a very recognizable character. So you
Yeah,
don't have to worry.
Exactly. It's gonna. I'm excited to see what they will do to make this Green Arrow, because Green Arrow in the comics and Arrow in the CW TV show have similarities, but they're not the same. So it'll be very cool to see more of a traditional Green Arrow if they choose to take it that way.
If you want to do a Flash spoiler cast, Steven, you need to catch up on Arrow, because there's
I know it.
stuff in there. So let's just run through the news real quick. So now that we've kind of gotten the big ones that we want to talk about. Like Steven said, Legends of Tomorrow got an official trailer that has maybe like 3 seconds more than the first look that we got last week.
Right.
We got just slightly a few more scenes of Hawkgirl, which were pretty cool. There's like a scene of Hawkgirl and Adam and Firestorm flying through the sky, and that got me excited. World War Z has a sequel coming in 2017. Steven, you're obviously excited about that. The book is huge, and a lot of people said World War Z didn't kind of live up to the expectations. So hopefully the sequel kind of
See, I didn't read the
fixes
book.
some of that.
I didn't read the book or the survival guide book or any of that.
Yeah.
But for me, just as a movie, World War Z is a good movie.
All right, Reese Witherspoon got cast as Tinkerbell in the live-action Tink movie that's being made. I think she'll fit in pretty well as that character. I wrote here M. Night Shyamalan ding dong, but yeah, M. Night Shyamalan says he'd be down for writing an Unbreakable TV series, which I think would be amazing. I think that would adapt very well into the TV format. They obviously wouldn't be able to get Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson for that,
right? But still, be cool.
Brad, you obviously excited about this. John Williams has confirmed that there's classic Star Wars themes in The Force Awakens. So
yeah, I was just excited when I heard he was doing the score. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, and as Brad mentioned, the Power Rangers reboot got pushed to 2017 for box office benefits. So they're trying to avoid some of these huge releases like Batman v Superman and stuff, that stuff. So
January, that's like Frankenstein territory. I mean, come on.
Right. Well,
yeah.
We'll see.
It'll have enough following that it probably won't matter too much. You're gonna get the numbers you're gonna get no matter when you release it.
All right. Supergirl pilot got leaked online. We've already talked about that. Use your own judgment. Don't be a social justice warrior and let people make their own decisions. I'm not talking about you, Gascles. I'm talking about other people. But
yeah, we like you at Gascles.
Yeah.
Well, that's my point too. My comments are only about what I would do or what I feel like people should discuss.
Right.
But
use your own moral compass.
Yep.
Yeah, use your own moral compass. If you want to wait for the Supergirl pilot, it could be much better than what we saw. So that's a small warning. The Constantine pilot was very different from the actual first episode. Steven mentioned Now You See Me 3 is already in development, so that's exciting. George Romero's Empire of the Dead comic series is coming to TV. Have any of y'all read that? I haven't read that. No? Okay. Bat-Kid Begins trailer. Did anyone see that?
I saw something about it. I didn't watch it. I didn't know what it was.
I haven't really watched it. It's Julia Roberts, documentary about Bat-Kid. So hopefully, it looks interesting.
Be fun to see.
I'm pretty excited about this. I know you are too, Steven, that Matt Parkman from Heroes is going to be in Heroes Reborn.
Which one was he?
Great. He was the cop that.
That
like touched people or something and could read their minds.
His wife was always cheating on him.
Yeah. He was also the pilot that got eaten by the smoke monster and lost.
Greg Grunberry. Yeah, Matt Parkman. I'm excited about that. There's more and more originals coming back. I know CK is stoked about this. The Divergent series, Allegiant Number 1, Part 1, begins filming in Atlanta. It just saddens me that movie is being broken down into 2 parts. So, whatever. As the Gascles stated, The Crow adds Andrea Riseborough as top dollar in The Crow remake. There's some more Civil War photos leaked. These new ones have Ant-Man in them.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he's
really small. It's hard
really
to
tiny. You gotta zoom in.
Yeah, you gotta zoom in. The Transformers spin-off. Now, I'm not sure if this is that all-female spin-off or if it's gonna be like a spin-off from the movies, the 3 movies, and then the really shitty movie that we've already seen. I'll let you decide which is which. But they've added Robert Kirkman from the creator of The Walking Dead, and the screenwriters of Pacific Rim and Iron Man 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On there. So that's interesting. Pacific Rim had some great fight scenes. I don't know why they didn't pull the sword out earlier, but yeah, the Walking Dead creator will be an interesting twist to Transformers.
We'll go from blowing crap up to doing absolutely nothing. The robots just like walking around for a couple hours.
Eating each other.
Yeah.
Nom 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 oil. All right, the Magnificent Seven casts the Swedish actor Peter Sarsgaard as. I'm not sure who they cast him as actually, but it was they were wanting Jason Momoa as that role, and he passed, so they cast Skarsgård. It's kind of two different actors to choose from there, but yeah. Independence Day 4-2 is going to pick up 15 years after the original, and you can kind of read, like, I think Vivica A. Fox is talking about where her character is going to be in that movie, so if you're interested in that movie, go check that out. Matthew McConaughey has met with both Marvel and DC, but right now people are rumoring that he could be in talks for Norman Osborn, which, you know, I could see that.
All right.
Yeah.
They've done Norman Osborn twice though here with William Dafoe and the guy who was an Amazing Spider-Man 2. I can't remember his name. It's like, are you really gonna bring Norman in here again?
All right, pumpkin bombs.
If he's talked to both Marvel and DC, I'd like to see him as Jim Corrigan in DC.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
That'd be cool. Yeah. So Wayne's best friend Simon Pegg says that the original Star Trek 3 script was too Star Trekky. Not sure really what he means by that. I feel like
it means it was boring. That's what it means.
Well, you just upset a lot of people, Brad. But I feel like the biggest thing about Star Trek 2 was that it wasn't Star Trekky enough, and so I can't.
I liked them both.
And we mentioned the Guardians of the Galaxy casting news. Chris Pratt shot down the rumors that he's in talks for both Indiana Jones and the Ghostbusters films. So.
He talks with any of them. Either.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't said that there's people still saying that he's being considered, but he hasn't talked to them at all.
Oh, so people may be considering him, but he is not going out and having
those
those
nothing
conversations.
about it. Right? Yeah.
Right.
I know Corey. I say this like every week, but Corey Anderson's gonna be excited about this. Krang might appear in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
It'd be cool to see, because I, unlike most people, enjoyed the live-action TMNT. I thought it was, despite how the Turtles looked, I thought it was a cool movie. I liked it.
I'd love to see Krang.
And I think that would be incredible to see him. And then you've got Stephen Amell as Casey Jones. It's just going to, for me, it's going to be a great movie.
If it has Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady and Krang in it, and like
killer.
The freaking, was it the Terror Dome? That would be amazing.
Technodrome.
And they need the Technodrome in there.
I just hope that if they do Krang, it's like the 80s cartoon version where he's in the suit
He's in the stomach. Yeah,
and it's like a singular character, like a specific Utrom Krang is. Whereas in the new show, I don't know, I didn't really like it too much, the Nickelodeon show, where Roseanne from the TV show Roseanne voiced Krang.
Oh wow. Well, okay.
That's a good show.
One of my favorite films of all time,
Samurai.
The Last Samurai. The director of that, Ed Zwick, is in talks for a movie that I'm probably most excited for in like the next few years, Jack Reacher 2.
You really liked the first one a lot.
Oh, I've watched that movie like 20 times, and I've since then read at least 15 of Lee Child's Jack Reacher novels, and I'm working on one as we speak.
How do you fit that in between watching Daredevil so many times?
Oh man, I can read a Jack Reacher.
Two TVs at once. He actually subscribes to Netflix under two different accounts.
Last time I flew to the U.S., I finished a Jack Reacher novel on the flight over to the U.S. That's how fast I can read those like 400-page books. They're incredible. Spoilers for Steven, but Arrow season 4 will have a lighter tone than it has.
I'm fine with that. I think Flash has done a good job having a lighter tone, and I think Arrow originally had much more of a lighter tone to it, and that's why I fell in love with the show in the beginning. So it's good to see that it's going to go back a little bit lighter.
You think that'll work, John?
I wanted to. I think I didn't really like season 3 that much. It kind of
it was super dark.
It stumbled along the way. I think it lost its way too. I think it needs to be Green Arrow. It really does.
Yeah, I think people are getting tired of the darkness of that show. Like after the Slade stuff and spoilers, his mom getting stabbed through
I've
the
seen
heart.
that.
Yeah, like it was super dark season 2.
He's not Batman. They've tried
Right.
to
No,
make him
exactly.
Batman. It's two different characters. Let him be
Exactly.
Green Arrow and Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So,
So that's cool.
Lando Calrissian may show up in the new Star Wars trilogy at some point. They haven't specifically said he'll be in the Force Awakens, but they're kind of talking about how they could write him into the trilogy, the new trilogy. There was a first look photo, I guess, from Warcraft, the Warcraft movie that's coming out. It's of Robert Kaczynski's character Ogrim the Orc, and it looks pretty good. The CGI looks actually pretty good. I think a lot of people at either E3 or like one of the most recent game cons got to see kind of a teaser for Warcraft, and they all said it was really good CGI. So fans of that game or those games, might be excited. Lucasfilms came out and said that Boba Fett is a high priority for them in the future films, and as we know that he's going to be in one of the anthology films, so it's interesting that they say he's high priority because, I wonder if they're going to try and take him out of the Sarlacc pit. What do you guys think? Do you think they're going to...
Well, I mean, seeing as how a lot of his backstory is already canon on the Clone Wars show, and with the stuff that happened with Django, I guess you could explore that time in between Empire and Clone Wars, but I don't know, man. That's some retconning, to use a comic book term, with the Sarlacc pit there.
Well, in the old extended universe and the now Legends stories, he escaped the Sarlacc pit and went on to do some pretty crazy stuff. So, maybe they'll do that. That'd be actually really cool. He does have a jetpack that, it couldn't be that destroyed. It was just hit with like an axe, a poleaxe.
With Boba Fett, less is more.
Right,
like,
right. That's what I think.
The mystery of that character, kind of.
We mentioned that, I think, last week. Like, we don't think they should really do the anthology because, I think we all agree. Like, Boba Fett's awesome because he's mysterious and deadly.
Right.
And,
we don't have much on him.
Like, we don't want to see like Boba Fett in New York, like delivering coffees to their Devil Wears Prada boss, like Supergirl.
You saw what happened when we got a whole trilogy about Darth Vader.
Yeah. I killed them all. Alright, Lex Luthor might be donning the war suit in Batman vs. Superman. That'd be interesting. I mean, it'd
be cool.
It'd be a new thing for Lex Luthor, because he's always had that in the comics and in the cartoons. So, did you guys see the newest Joker photos from the
Lamborghini one?
Yeah, it looked like a flashback because Harley isn't in her makeup and tattoos. So it looks kind of like he's getting out of a car and he looks kind of like a nightclub owner. I don't know. It wasn't. I mean,
Ricky Martin.
Ricky Martin with green
Joker.
hair and yeah. But I think it got a little more negative response than the earlier photos.
But I think that at this point, I agree with Agasicles on. Okay, I don't want.
Well, there goes Marlon. All right, let's.
I don't want to see all these pictures of the Joker.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's giving me this perception in my head that I'm going to have to go into this movie battling. That oh god, he's gonna look terrible. It's gonna be stupid.
I don't remember a photo of Heath Ledger before the movie actually released.
Exactly. No.
Yeah.
Maybe a makeup test photo.
Yeah.
But I think that was after the fact.
Right.
But like I'm going to go in battling. Oh my god, he's got tattoos and a grill, and this is so stupid, and his shirt's unbuttoned, and it may be a fantastic, awesome Joker, but it'll be too hard for me to get over all this crap that I've seen.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I know. I was just gonna say, I just hope that all this leaked photo stuff with the Suicide Squad, as I was mentioning earlier, I just hope it doesn't take away from Jared Leto's performance, because I think he's gonna knock it out.
Yeah.
But it's just going in, like Steven was saying, you're gonna go in and you're gonna say, oh, he's got this and that and that, and then he could mail it in, and you'd be like, yeah, this was an amazing performance, and
Okay,
it'll be
well,
ignored.
last two bits of news: Agent Carter, or Agents of Shield, season 2 is hitting Netflix in June 11th. So if you,
Means I can finally catch up.
yeah, if you're like Wayne and you're still like, you know, like 5 years behind on that show, you can check it out on Netflix. And Nightcrawler, the show, drops on Netflix on June 10th, the day before that. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's it for our show. We're gonna go through. Everyone can say their Twitter, where they can find them, maybe something they're gonna do for Geeks with Wives this week, or that people can check out. So we'll start with you, Steven.
Twitter at Invictus Cosplay. I am currently working with a company, and they are going to send me some of their costume company, and they have everything from low end kids muscle Spider-Man suits to really high end movie quality Pirates of the Caribbean Jack Sparrow costumes, and they're going to send me a couple of their different quality things and let me modify them to show people how easy it is to take something store-bought and make it look really cool. We're going to do some videos on that, and I'm going to write up some articles. And I got my May Loot Crate today. I'm going to pick it up tomorrow, record the video, and post that unboxing on our YouTube, so keep an eye out on that. That'll be pretty great.
Awesome, John.
Yeah. So this week I did a couple of reviews. Well, first, me and Agassicles did the spoiler cast for Mad Max. Check that out. I did my Mad Max review, as mentioned earlier, and I reviewed the game Broken Age, which is a pretty cool game from Double Fine, a Kickstarter game. And then now I'm kind of like not sure what I'm going to do next, but just look out for that, for more stuff from me in the future.
You know you're free to take a break, John, because you've been a machine, article writing machine. Brad Bell, where can we find you?
As far as on the site, you can find my Convergence reviews, as Agassicles knows, and I know he loves reading those each week, and he always writes his counterpoint on his Google Plus, or he leaves it as a comment on the site, which sometimes are more interesting maybe than my reviews, but we got a good little dialogue going there. But I just want to mention my Convergence 8 review will be on a delay because my comic book store owner is going to Vegas to gamble my money away that I've gave him. So that's going to probably be the Monday after that book releases before I can get a chance to get to that review, unless Agassicles wants to do it for us. But find me on Twitter at the Real Brad Bell, REEL Brad Bell, and always on Thursday nights on the Capes podcast.
You can tell your comic book owner just to go to Cherokee, North Carolina.
Yeah, exactly.
Good casino there in Cherokee.
You don't need to go to Vegas, man.
The old Cherokee. All right, Gascles Stamus, where can we find you? Anywhere? Google Plus.
Google Plus, and just keep an eye out for my stuff on the site, geekswithwives.com.
Thanks, Gascles. And just know that we all love your counterpoints and your rebuttals and everything to all of our reviews. That's why we love you. And
Absolutely.
yeah, you are a very awesome person. So you can find me, Everett, at Everett Gets It on Twitter. You can also find all of us at Geeks on Screen, and you can find all of Geeks with Wives at Geeks with Wives. Be sure to check out geekswithwives.com.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, subscribe
And
to
the
the
podcast.
YouTube channel. That's where you'll find most of me. You'll find me and Adam's Divinity series, which has started back up. Adam put up a Street Fighter video, which was actually pretty fun to watch. You know, even if you're not a big fan of fighting games, he's pretty good. He lost quite a few times in that video, but he's pretty good at it. And we're also going to be doing a Resident Evil 5 co-op playthrough of, zombies and stuff. And, I make jokes that I'm shooting Saddam Hussein and Tony Jaa in the head, because all the zombies have like three or four character models that kind of look like Saddam and Jackie Chan. Stuff
And
like
don't forget we have an app too.
yeah, we have an app on both the iTunes App Store, the Apple App Store, and the Android App Store and Google Play. So check that out. I wrote a Supergirl review on the leaked pilot. You know, if you want to check that out, it's non-spoilers.
Yeah, that's the thing is, even if you don't want to find and watch the link Supergirl, you can still read this article and it doesn't ruin it for you.
Right.
In the sense of telling you what happened. Everett's done it the same way he did the Age of Ultron, spoiler-free early review, and so I appreciate that. I know a lot of people do as well.
Yeah, and you can. John wrote a pretty awesome Mad Max Road Fury article or review. Chris Perry wrote a book review on Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void, which, if you're into the old Star Wars extended universe, you should check that out. CK did a great review on what he thinks of the Gem and the Holograms trailer. CK is a big fan of the cartoon stuff, and yeah, me and Wayne did a new trailer cast, so check that out, like towards the bottom of the Geeks with Wives homepage. So yeah,
and I got two other things to plug, Everett. Sorry, and now of course I just forgot one because it's 2 a.m. in the morning here.
Right.
Check out. Make sure you keep an eye on the hardware section. So we are starting to do more coverage on tech. So there are some notes on my initial impressions of the Huawei Snap 2 Android phone.
That's how you pronounce it.
Which is Huawei's. That's how I pronounce it. I don't know if it's right. Which is Huawei's newest budget phone. So there's both a post for that as well as a short video podcast on it. And keep an eye out for the new podcast that'll be rolling out on our network covering technology called Geeks with Wives and Bits. So we'll be recording our first show here in about a week. So keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and Huawei, I wouldn't have guessed that. It's kind of like Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro.
Boom, there you go, Brad. Guillermo del Toro. I'm just making fun of Steven. He's the one that pronounced that terribly.
Are you sure? I thought it was...
no, you're the one that said Guillermo.
I butchered it once too, Steven. We both butchered it.
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure Steven did that last time. All right, but yeah.
Mr. Sigourney Weaver.
And we've got a lot of stuff about The Witcher being popped up and about Marvel Heroes. Joe just did a great tour for Gazillion Entertainment. And if you are a Doctor Doom fan, he is being released this coming week as playable. And he's going to be exciting. Really exciting. So check that out. Yeah, so that's it for us. Thanks everyone for watching. Like and subscribe on iTunes. Comment on this video. Comment on the site that this is posted on. Comment on iTunes. Let us know what you think about disaster films, what you think about the Supergirl leak. Let us know what you think about anything we said here. Let John give him tips on how to survive forest fires because...
Please.
Yeah, because he's going to need that because that's going to happen. So, yeah, for my co-hosts, Steven, Agascles, Brad, John, and myself, Everett, we will see you guys next time.